So at this point, I would like to open up the meeting for comments and discussion. We've allotted the bulk of our time together today for this purpose, and there are two groups that have asked to make comments. So I'd like to start with them, but if there are any other comments or questions from people participating in the meeting, we'd very much like to hear those as well. So let me start with the Society for Women's Health Research. And if you could come up to the microphone and introduce yourself, giving the comments.
Hi, I'm Martha Nolan. I'm the Vice President of Public Policy with the Society for Women's Health Research, a nonprofit advocacy organization here in Washington, D.C. SWHR supported the establishment of the Reagan-Udall Foundation in 2007 and continues to support the scientific mission of the foundation to assist the FDA to meet its increased demands in emerging research, innovation, and technology. We believe that the foundation has the capabilities to coordinate new regulatory science research that will transform medical practice and improve the health of all Americans, especially women. So SWHR is recognized as the thought leader in sex differences research and is dedicated to improving women's health through advocacy, education, and research. Our focus since 1995 has been to clearly demonstrate that sex and gender differences exist and that more research needs to be done to explore conditions that affect women differently, disproportionately, and exclusively. We believe that it is critical that these differences be identified and their implications for diagnosis and treatment be understood and appropriately translated to the medical community and public at large. For decades, medical societies, government agencies, and public health groups have held randomized controlled trials as the gold standard of research design for demonstrating a cause and effect relationship between an intervention and an outcome. The premise being that a one-size-fits-all treatment can be found and applied to all patients. We do not believe that's true. The foundation can assist in guiding medical practice in the next era of personalized medicine by utilizing the science of sex-based biology. Scientific advances are guiding us away from the one-size-fits-all approach to medicine. Science has demonstrated that the right therapy applied to the right patient at the right time should be the new gold standard of medical practice. Tailoring therapies to the right person, sex, age, race, genotype, phenotype, can begin to make the practice of medicine more efficient, reversing the trend and bend the cost curve away from the billions of dollars spent on drug treatments that rely on a trial and error approach to demonstrate dosage and effectiveness, which ultimately does not serve the best interests of the patient. Because sex-based differences do have a substantial effect on outcomes, it is important for the foundation to study these differences to produce targeted, personalized, sex-based, effective, and critically meaningful results. So for example, the Foundation's Systems Toxicology Project pilot program would be useful toward advancing sex differences research. We recommend that the program require that the database report on sex and gender differences. This would result in a wealth of knowledge and data on sex and gender differences in cancer research. We believe that this data is critical to understanding how cancers and the treatment of those cancers impact women differently than their male counterparts and will enable physicians to tailor diagnosis, treatment, and care to individual patients. We support the Reagan-Udall Foundation's collaborative partnerships through research and would like to offer our assistance in order to help make sex-based research a reality. We hope to see the incorporation of reporting sex differences into all phases of clinical research in order to create more personalized medical care. And we look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Martha, thanks very much for the comments, and especially like both the broad focus and specific application to the pilot toxicology program that's underway. I know sex differences is an area that sex and gender difference is an area that has come up in some of those discussions, and I think we can work to make sure that that's adequately addressed there and in our future related work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And thank you for your support.
Thank you. Other comments from the board? Okay, next up after Martha, I have the Parkinson's Action Network.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Becca O'Connor, and I'm the Director of Government Relations for PAN, the Parkinson's Action Network. So thank you so much for convening this meeting and giving us the opportunity to make brief comments. PAN is the unified voice of the Parkinson's community. We represent the national organizations working on behalf of the 1.5 million estimated high-end individuals living with Parkinson's disease. And while we don't endorse a specific diagnostic product or drug, we are keenly interested in all ways to expand the arsenal of tools to cure and combat this disease. And to that end, we have and continue to support this foundation's critical mission. As I've said, Parkinson's affects what some consider a small population. To us, it's quite large, 500,000 to 1.5 million Americans, and there is no current cure, let alone therapy or drug, to slow or halt the progression of this chronic progressive disease. Current state-of-the-art pharmaceutical treatment is based on a 40-year-old therapy, and as my colleague, Ms. Nolan, said, there is no one drug fits all for Parkinson's, and it's critically important that we have an eye to creative, innovative ways to finding medicines that complement one another and working together to streamline the drug approval process. As you all likely know, it takes an average of between 15 and 20 years for a neurological therapy to be approved. And increasingly, what we're seeing and hearing from others in our community is that the approval timeline is consumed by a focus on hurdles in the approvals rather than on critical drug approval research and development. That's not good enough for folks in our community, and I know that together we can and want to do better. So we applaud. I don't have specific projects, although I'll tell you that this is really inspiring. So I'm going to go back and put pen to paper and think about things that we can provide that may be specific, concrete examples of things that we can do together. But we applaud your efforts to date with limited resources and encourage you to keep a trained focus on what can be done to expedite drug approval and ultimately get drugs to treatment to patients. Excuse me. A little short of breath, thanks to the girls, to hasten therapy approval. Meetings like today are a fantastic first step. Learned a lot just in this brief amount of time about what you're doing, and I think the more that you can communicate that to the patient community and to other organizations like us, the better, because we will communicate it back. So very open to creative thoughts about how we can all work together. And we really thank you for the opportunity to come in and just have a few moments of your time.
And thank you for coming in for the comments.
Sure.
I know that in Parkinson's Action Network has been very active, including in previous work to support better scientific foundations for decisions about the care of Parkinson's patients and for getting better treatments available. I'm wondering if maybe one area for further collaboration is given the work that PAN has been involved with the Coalition Against Major Diseases and the Critical Path Institute around gathering data, developing standards for markers or predictors of patient response, if that's an area where we might have some further interaction with
Absolutely.
augmenting work.
Absolutely, and thank you for raising it. There is no biomarker. There is not a great measure in place for Parkinson's, and so it's a real challenge for us to, first of all, to recruit people to participate in trials and to feel like there's a vested stake there where they're going to see results come out of it, but also just in terms of, in terms of controlling this disease and understanding how we're going to measure effectiveness of treatments. The scale that we use currently is one that is a rather coarse and subjective tool. And so anything that we can do to partner together to improve that is critical.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. My father had Parkinson's, so I know, anyone who's been around it knows how difficult it is, and it is our goal to make things better for patients. So I would encourage you to think about specific projects that would be suitable for public-private partnerships or things, or pilots, or things that can be done. It would be terrific.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're highlighting a very important concept that I think we very much want to address broadly, which is the lack of effective clinical measures and translational tools that we can use for regulatory purposes. Very often we've had to adapt clinical measures that are useful in diagnosing or following patients with the disease, but they were never really intended for this type of research. And I think that it is a very important general principle and it's something which is urgently needed throughout the research and development and regulatory community. So thank you for highlighting it.
Absolutely, and I think it also speaks to the need to acknowledge the differences between, and some of this was talked about in gender, but different subgroups of disease and subtypes. So I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks to both of you.